This is you, scrolling on your phone in bed, pretending the glow of a screen counts as rest. You've got snacks within reach, climate control humming, and the worst threat in your day is forgetting your charger. Now, cut. Backtrack past your parents, past the ones who thought low-rise jeans were a good idea, past generations who died before 40, all the way to this guy crouched in the dirt in 536 AD. That guy? That's your ancestor. He has no name, no shoes, and no idea that you, a distant descendant with an unhealthy caffeine addiction, even exist. But here's the thing. If that guy, or anyone in your ancestral chain, had frozen to death, starved in the ash-choked fields, or simply given up while the sky itself turned against them, you wouldn't be here. You're not here because you're special. You're here because generation after generation of desperate humans got lucky, stayed stubborn, and didn't die when they probably should have. So let's take a look at how close you and your ancestors came to vanishing completely when the world decided to throw its worst years on record. We're going to dive into one brutal survival story from history, the year 536, the year a Byzantine historian flat out called the beginning of the darkest time to be alive. We'll walk through the setup, the disaster, how ordinary people like your ancestors lived or didn't through it, and the consequences it left behind. Let's get into it. The year is 536 AD. The Roman Empire is long gone in the West, but its scraps still stagger on in Constantinople. Trade routes crisscross Europe, Asia, and Africa. Life is precarious but functioning. And then the sky breaks. A volcanic eruption, likely in Iceland, blasts so much ash and sulfur into the stratosphere that daylight dims. For 18 months, the sun shines like a pale moon, described by the historian Procopius as without brightness, like the sun in eclipse. Global temperatures plummet. Tree ring evidence shows the coldest decade in 2,000 years. Crops fail across Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. Irish chronicles record a failure of bread from the years 536 to 539. In China, summer snow falls. By the late 530s, famine stalks the land. People stumble through fields where nothing grows. Trade collapses, and entire villages starve into silence. The Byzantine capital, once the jewel of the Mediterranean, reeks of uncollected corpses. This is not a metaphor. This is a world where food is a distant rumor, and the air itself tastes like ash. If you were alive back then, congratulations. You just woke up in the apocalypse with zero prep time. You walk outside and the sun looks like it's given up on being a star. The air stings your lungs. Your crops? Dead. Your backup plan? Also dead. And bread, the one thing holding civilization together, is now a myth told to starving children. You're hungry, but so is everyone else. The market is empty. The neighbors are glaring at you with the kind of eyes that say, "I'd eat you slow cooked if it came to that." Good luck with that morning commute. The famine deepens. Livestock starve. Grain stores rot. The few traders still alive demand prices that would make a modern rent market blush. You try boiling weeds into soup. You try eating tree bark. You consider, and I'm not kidding, grinding bones into powder to fake flour. Some desperate families did exactly that. And the hunger is only one problem. Diseases rip through weakened populations. When you're starving, your immune system folds like wet parchment. Malaria spreads. Dysentery thrives. People die coughing in the streets, and their bodies are dumped in pits too shallow to cover the stench. And while you're choking down bark broth and dodging plague, the geopolitics aren't pausing for you. Wars rage. Armies raid famine-stricken towns. Imagine being so unlucky you get conquered while starving. That's the kind of cosmic slapstick this era specialized in. This worst year wasn't just a blip. It kickstarted a cascade of misery. The climate shock lasted 3 to 540s. Famines rolled across continents. And in 541, as if humanity hadn't suffered enough, the Justinian plague hit, a bubonic outbreak that killed up to half the Byzantine Empire's population. Historians now call 536 the opening act of a 100-year catastrophe, volcanic winters, famine, and pandemic stacked like a bad joke. Europe's population shrank. Economies collapsed. Whole regions slid into what some call the late antique Little Ice Age. And yet, somehow, your ancestors crawled through it, hungry, diseased, freezing, traumatized, but alive. So yeah, while you're whining about a slightly burnt latte, just remember, your great somebody was gnawing bark in the dark and calling it dinner. You exist because they didn't quit. Because when the sun disappeared, when the fields failed, and when survival looked like a cruel joke, your ancestors kept staggering forward. Not because they were strong, not because they were chosen, but because dying at the worst possible moment wasn't an option. And that's why you're here, alive in a world with Wi-Fi, complaining about Monday. Final thought? You owe your entire existence to people who literally survived the sky going out. Try not to waste it scrolling TikTok at 3 a.m.